#5 cheap fragrances that smell shockingly expensive. $500. That is what you would spend buying every fragrance on this list. Combined. The luxury bottles they get compared to, over $2,500. And in blind tests, the people who own both cannot reliably tell them apart. The fragrance industry has one rule: keep you ignorant and keep you paying. This list breaks that rule. Number 5, Lattafa Khamrah, around $28. A Dubai house most people in America have never heard of. No celebrity, no boutique, no story. Just a warm, slightly sweet amber and musk composition with a thread of saffron running through it that gives the whole thing an almost luminous quality. It projects hard, it lasts all day, it stops people mid-conversation. The kind of fragrance that makes you look like you know something most people do not. Now here is where it gets interesting. The fragrance community has spent years comparing Khamrah to one specific bottle. Maison Francis Kurkdjian Baccarat Rouge 540, $330. In blind tests, collectors who own both cannot reliably tell them apart. Sometimes Khamrah wins on longevity, sometimes it wins on projection. $302 of that price tag is the story, the crystal collaboration, and the name. The liquid underneath costs $28. And we are only at number 5. Number 4, Maison Alhambra exclusive, around $25. A pineapple opening that is bright and slightly smoky. A birch heart that develops into something dark and resinous. An ambergris and musk base that lingers for hours. Clean, confident, unmistakably masculine. Here is something the luxury market does not want to talk about. Every bottle smells like every other bottle. No batch variation. No lot code anxiety. No forum threads debating which version is closer to the original. What you buy today smells exactly like what someone else bought last month. In this category, that consistency is rarer than it should be. Now here is where it gets interesting. The fragrance community compares exclusive to one reference above all others. Creed Aventus, $350. The pineapple, the birch smoke, the ambergris dry down, same olfactive territory. In blind tests, experienced Aventus collectors cannot reliably tell them apart. $325 of that Creed price tag is the founding story, the royal warrant mythology, and the name. Exclusive charges, $25 for the liquid. Same liquid, different story. Number 3, Rasasi Hawas, around $30. This entry is different from everything else on this list. Hawas is not a dupe. There is no specific luxury original it is trying to replicate. It is an original formula from a UAE house that happened to produce something that smells like it belongs at a $200 price point. Bergamot and violet over a base of sandalwood and musk, a warmth that aquatics almost never achieve. Projection in the first 3 hours that does not politely announce itself. The fragrance community noticed. The consensus is not that it smells like a specific bottle. The consensus is that it smells like it should cost $200. That is a harder standard to meet. $30 for a fragrance that earns its comparison not from one overpriced bottle, but from an entire tier of luxury aquatics. That might actually be more impressive than anything else on this list. Number 2, Zara Vibrant Leather, around $20. $20 from a fast fashion retailer. Warm, slightly spiced, leathery. The kind of masculine signature that reads as considered and expensive without being obvious about it. It projects well. It lasts through the day. It generates compliments from people who know fragrance and from people who do not. Now here is what makes this possible. Zara uses real perfumers with access to the same aromatic ingredient palette that luxury houses use. Synthetic woods, ISO-E super derivatives, the compounds that create that warm, slightly spiced, leathery character. Without the licensing fees, without the advertising budgets, without the decades of brand mythology that transform a formula into a $120 status object. Now here is where it gets interesting. In documented blind tests across Fragrantica and Reddit experienced wearers, who own both Vibrant Leather and YSL, Eau de Parfum at $120, cannot reliably tell them apart. Read that carefully. People who paid $120 for a fragrance cannot identify it when the label is hidden. $20 versus $120. The only real difference is the story on the box. And in a blind test, the box is gone. Number 1, Lattafa Assad Elixir, around $35. This is number 1 for a reason. Black pepper and dark spices on the opening, aggressive, confident, immediately distinctive. It does not ease you in, it arrives. The heart develops into something warmer and more animalic. Licorice and lavender woven through an ambergris base that gives the whole composition a dark, luxurious depth that sits on skin for hours. One clarification before the comparison. Lattafa Assad, the original, is a different fragrance. Assad Elixir is the concentrated parfum version, reformulated with higher quality materials and deeper complexity. This is not a dupe entry. This is a $35 fragrance that competes at $200. Those are different things. Now here is where it gets interesting. The bottle Assad Elixir is consistently compared to his Dior Sauvage Elixir, $200, the concentrated evolution of the world's best-selling fragrance. Experienced collectors who have blind tested both describe Assad Elixir as the version that wins on projection and loses only in the refinement of the final dry down. $165 of refinement. 90% of the experience at 17% of the price. A $35 bottle that makes a $200 bottle defend itself. 5 fragrances, around $140 combined for the entire list. The luxury originals they reference would cost you over $2,000. The difference between these bottles and those bottles is real. Trained noses in controlled conditions can detect it. But in the real world, on skin, in rooms, in conversations, that difference is measured in nuance. The fragrance industry charges thousands of dollars for nuance and counts on you never questioning it. These 5 bottles are the question. Drop the one you are buying first in the comments. And if this list just saved you serious money, subscribe, because we do this every week. And the industry keeps giving us material.